Cedarcrest Middle School, what's up? It's me, Justin, and I am pumped that we get to spend some time together today. So whether you're watching on a phone, on a tablet, on a computer, or on a TV, I want you to get ready. Because Logan is going to bring something right now. Ooh, it's good. It is so good. I cannot wait for you to experience this part of our conversation we're calling Do Something.
What's up, everyone? It's Logan, other known as Lolo the Pro. Come on. Hey, I got a quick question for you guys this morning, or whatever time it is you're watching this. Have you ever been lost before? Like, really think about that. Like, have you ever been lost before? Maybe it was something small, maybe something bigger, maybe your mom left you in the grocery store and you didn't know what to do. Man, for me, I got so lost in middle school math. 6th grade, actually, to be specific. Man, I literally was so lost. Like, the teacher would be drawing like triangles, like the Pythagorean theorem. I can't even pronounce it. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Pythagorean theorem. I think that's it. But the teacher would be up there like teaching us all this stuff, like angles and like geometry. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, I don't even know. I'm so lost. Like, what are you talking about? It even got to the point where I would literally go home. My dad literally used to be a math teacher. And I'd be like, Dad, how do I do this homework? Like, help me. He would literally spend like hours sitting down with me in the kitchen, like drawing Pythagorean theorems, right? Like triangles. And I'd be like, I still don't know what you're talking about. You're speaking a different language. What is going on? I had no idea what was going on. Like, I just felt so lost. And quite honestly, I just didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what to do. The teacher was talking, my dad was talking, and I was like, I still just don't understand. This makes no sense to me. I do not know what to do. And you see, I think sometimes we can feel like that, sometimes with small things, but I think even sometimes with bigger things. And I think a lot of the times we can be like, hey, like, I'm lost. And we can often find ourselves thinking, hey, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't know what to do. And so what do I do? What am I supposed to do now? You see, and I think sometimes we can feel this way about big things in our life, like injustice. And if you don't know what that is, let me just explain it for you real quick. The definition between justice and injustice. Injustice is things in our lives that just aren't right, things that aren't fair, and things that aren't equal. And justice is things that are, well, the opposite, things that are equal, are fair, and are right. And so we've definitely, I think all of us can say that we've experienced things in our life that have justice and things that may not have justice. You see, but I think it's important for us to remember this, that God cares about injustice. And he calls us to take part in his work that he's doing to make things right, to make things equal, to make things fair. You see, I think when we think about injustice in the world, maybe for you, you can feel overwhelmed. You can feel overwhelmed because you feel like you have to solve all these big problems, all these Pythagorean theorem problems, and you can feel like you just don't know what to do. Like, people are even maybe explaining it to you and like all this stuff, but you still just don't know what to do. You feel lost, and you feel like all this justice going on, or this injustice going on, you just don't know what to do. And maybe for you, that can even mean that you feel hopeless. You feel like, man, I'm just confused. I don't know what to do. I'm so lost right now. I feel hopeless. Or maybe for you, you feel like you can't be a part of the change because you're just a middle schooler. You're just young and no one's going to want to listen to what you have to say. And so maybe you feel like that. Maybe you feel like what you have to say doesn't really matter. which I want to pause right there and say that is not true at all. We see so many times in the Bible and just in our world today where people, middle schoolers even, young people can have an impact and they can change the world. And you can. But maybe you feel like that. Maybe you feel like you can't. Or maybe you feel like you don't know what to do. Or you aren't sure how to help. You aren't sure what to do to solve these injustices. Or you're like, man, how am I supposed to do that? Like, what? You see, or maybe for you, last thing is if you've tried to make a difference, but what you've done hasn't changed anything. You've tried to solve this injustice, and you've tried to do something about it, but what you've done hasn't changed anything. Things are still the same. And you're like, I honestly just don't think I can do something about this. I don't think that what I can do can change the way people are treating me, change the way that people are getting treated. And so maybe for you, you have to wait on doing something because you feel like you can't. But what I want you to know today is you don't have to wait on someone else to make a difference. You don't have to wait on someone to do something about the injustice that you want to do something about in your life, or maybe that you're experiencing. You see, you can do something about injustice in the world. No matter how old you are, no matter what, you can do something about injustice. And so, can I be honest for a second? If you have siblings like me, you probably have experienced just injustice in that way. Okay, let's be honest for a second. Man, my least favorite thing in the world is when my mom, my dad is like, hey, Logan, why can't you be more like your brother? Logan, why can't you be more like your sibling? Oh my goodness, I cannot stand that. And let me tell you something. I bet there's this, there's this guy named James in the Bible. And I bet he felt like that so much. You see, his brother was Jesus. And James was the half brother of Jesus. And I bet he felt like that all the time. Like James, why can't you be more like your brother Jesus? I bet James was like, Mom, I bet he was like, I bet that fired him up. But you see, when we see that after Jesus came, and Jesus said he would come, and he came to be a savior for the world, and he died, and then he came back to life. After saying he would, we see that James became a leader in the early church, and he wrote letters to Christians talking about this, talking about the injustices that they may face in their lives. And so you see James wrote about injustice, and he wrote about how just instead of saying it can be different than acting on it. And so we see this in James 2:15-16. It says this: suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? What good is it? Like James is literally saying to us right here, what good is it if you're saying that you want to do something, but you're not doing it? What good is it if you're saying, hey, that's not fair, hey, that's not right, that's not equal, but you're not trying to do anything about it? You're not trying to be the person that makes a change in the world. James, the brother of Jesus, is saying, what good is it? What's the point of even saying that's not fair? What's the point if you're not going to try and do something about this change? And so you see, our response to injustice is directly connected to our faith. Let me say that again. Our response to injustice is directly connected to our faith. And this is how, because the next verse, James 2:17, it says this: in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James is literally saying faith, or talking about something that is not accompanied by action, that is not joined by doing something, is dead. You see, when we talk about something, when we're talking the talk and not walking the walk, James calls it dead. Or basically not there. When we're not acting on things, when we're not living a life of doing something about stuff, about injustice, it's dead. And you see, that's what James called us to do. James is writing in this letter, and he's calling us to do what his brother did. He's calling us to love others in the midst of injustice. He's calling us to do something about the thing that gets us fired up. Oh, that's not fair. James is saying, you know what? Do something about it. Do something about it, just like his brother Jesus did. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Becoming more like Jesus. Becoming more like Jesus. Becoming more like him so that we can go out and change the things in our life that we may think are not fair. And so if you don't want to take James's word for it, that's cool. But hey, I say you take Paul's word. Pause. I made pause. Did I say pause? Paul. You need to take the Apostle Paul's word for it, because what he says in Galatians 6:9 through 10 is like gold. He literally says this: let us not become weary of doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people. You see, I want to break this down a little bit, because what Paul is saying is that in the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we continue to do good. And you may be like, what does reap a harvest mean? That's a great question. I think what Paul is meaning by this when he says let's reap a harvest is he's saying, hey, if you continue to do good, you're going to see the effects that it's going to bring. You're going to see justice come from injustice. You're going to see good come from evil. And you see, we may not always be able to see the change that we're working on. We may not always be able to see it like Paul is saying, but that doesn't mean we should give up. In fact, that means we shouldn't give up, so that the people behind us don't have to experience the injustice that we're experiencing. You see, when it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. Let me say that one more time, because I really want to drill that in today. When it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. You see, if we want to become the people who show others that God really cares about injustice, we have to keep caring. We have to keep showing up. It can't be a one-time thing. You see, God's called us to be the people that show others that God cares about injustice. And so it's our job to keep going after it. Even if it feels like we're not changing the world, keep going after it and keep trying our best to change the world, because you can. Like, honestly, let me just get real for a second. You can. And like I was saying earlier, it may not feel like you can. It may feel like you're hopeless. It may feel like nothing's happening from the change that you're wanting right now, but God is working through you. And God is using you to change the world, no matter your age. No matter if you're in middle school, no matter if you're in high school, no matter if you're 80 years old. God is using you. It doesn't matter if you're young or whatever that looks like in your life. And so I think that we can start this week by doing a few things. We can start to do something about injustice, to change the world around us by doing a few things. I think the first one is this: using our voice to speak when we see injustice. Using our voice to speak up. Using our voice that God gave us to say something about the things that aren't fair. That's a great first step you can take towards changing the world, towards doing something about injustice, is saying, you know what, that's not right. You know what, that's not fair. Instead of just sitting back, speaking up and saying, you know what, I see that, that's not right, that's not fair. The second one is this: using our influence to help others see the injustices we care about. Using where God has placed you to tell the people around you that, hey, I really care about this thing because it's not fair, because I'm experiencing it and it's not fair. Or I know someone that's experiencing this and this is not fair. And the third thing is this: using our talents to fight injustice. Using what God gave you to fight the injustice in your lives or the people around you's lives. You see, I believe God gave us all gifts and talents, and He's called us to use those to be able to change the world. to be able to bring justice to a world of injustice. So use those talents, use those gifts. Do you like to hoop? You like to play basketball? You like to, I don't know, maybe you can like juggle. I don't know, maybe you can juggle and tell people about like Jesus. That'd be pretty cool, man. I don't know. What's a talent of yours, something you love to do? And the last thing is this: using our time in making fighting injustice a lifetime goal, making it something that we try and accomplish for our whole life rather than just something we focus on for like a week. Know that like fighting for justice is not going to be something that you can just focus on for a week. It's going to be something that is lifetime. It may take a lifetime for you to get to. But just knowing, like, if you can do that, if you can commit to fighting for justice in the ways that you want to in your life, the things that aren't fair in your life, that's going to make life so much easier for people that come after you. For the people down the road that don't want to experience that. You're going to be able to impact and change the world because of how they see it. You can have major impact. See, when it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. Never stop doing something. See, you can be the generation that makes the kind of change that lasts and makes the world a better place. You can. You can change the world and make the world a better place. No matter how you may look at yourself or what you say, or if you feel hopeless about something like math, like the Pythagorean theorem, you may feel lost right now. In the midst of injustice, you may just not know what to do, but I believe God is calling you to do something about what you're passionate about. To do something about the things in your life that you say are not fair. And so go do something. Go change the world. And so I want to end on this question today, and it's this: how can you use your voice, your influence, your talent, and your time to do something about injustice? I just want you to personally ask yourself that question. Maybe it's even asking a parent or a friend or a life group leader: how can I use my voice, my influence, my talent, or my time to do something about injustice, to do something about the things that just aren't fair in this world? And I believe if you do that, if you intentionally ask yourself this question, you're going to see God do amazing things through you, and you might just change the world. You might just change the world for the better, and that's pretty cool.
Hey, I told you. I told you it was going to be good. You didn't believe me, but I told you. And now, here's what I want to say. We would love to stay connected with you. So here are 3 ways you can stay connected. Number 1 is this. Number 2, this. And number 3 is this. Get connected, get plugged in. We know that life transformation takes place when we are together. So let's get together. Until next time, peace.